Starfleet Underground. Every week, we'll take a look at the latest Star Trek news and then check out a current or classic episode of Star Trek. What will Harry Harcourt Fenton Mudd do to get out of a jam? Why is the holodeck always so darn busy? How do you win an argument with your half-vulcan brother? Ask him about the beard. And you just can't believe what you're going to see when you visit Talos IV. Starfleet Underground. Energize.
Hey, good day, everyone. And if you're listening to us, it's going to be the day or two after the 4th of July. And we have fireworks going on because we sent the photon torpedoes on a short fuse and we shoot them out and watched all the stuff. We just get finished hearing 15 minutes of Heather going, ooh and ah. So it's quite...
Wasn't that from last night?
It's a possibility.
That's funny.
We're already starting off on a bad foot here, it seems.
Hey, I've got the warp drive sequence to Stars and Stripes forever, so it is awesome right now.
So it's looking cool.
She probably wasn't on her bad foot if she was oohing and eyeing.
Somebody put on a good show.
Oh, my goodness. I thought we were going to start at least a G episode this time. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
If this is your first time tuning in to us, you don't know who the hell we are. My name is Nathan. I am captain of this here vessel. From the... I forget. There's too much of that Ractagino mixed in with sorry and brandy. But I'm Nathan, and here we have Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather. I'm the science officer. I do experiments. I blow shit up, which, by the way, that reminds me, Captain, I was testing out some of those quotes.
Not the coffee.
No, not the coffee. I was testing out some of those, quote, safe fireworks. Apparently, they are not safe to do around Tribbles. We have several burnt Tribbles. Some of them are still on fire. I might need help down here.
Oh, dear.
Oh, that's why I smelled burnt hair. I thought Patrick was using new toilet paper again.
Yes. And unfortunately, those are the Tribbles crying in pain. We are not doing our normal hard rock band that we normally do.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, and we have Patrick.
Hello, everybody. I'm Patrick. I'm number 1 on the ship. I'm also the computer guru. And hello.
And, of course, we have our illustrious engineer that did the modification of the photon torpedo, so we had space fireworks.
Isn't it awesome? All the colors.
Great. It's rocky.
Good morning. Good day after the holiday. Good whatever friggin' time it is, because I don't know what time warp we're listening into. I got some great news. They found our missing shuttlecraft. They found it on a moon around a planet. Now the landing skids are missing. And there's a crack in one of the windows. But overall, it's intact, so I'm going to call this one a win.
Yes.
Well, what about the eggs that piloted it away?
No sign of the eggs.
Well, good, because I don't have any idea how the hell they got off my plate and ran away. So I'm glad we got our shuttle back. So that's awesome. We're here first. We're going to be talking about the episodes that we have. But before we get into that, we're going to let you know that our show is brought to you by Section 31. And they made sure they wanted me to mention it since this week's episode we're reviewing featured them predominantly in it. So they really wanted to make sure everyone knew that we're being sponsored by them. Next is we have our corrections. Any corrections this week?
I didn't get nothing in the email, so as far as I know, no one reported anything in.
Woohoo! We had a flawless podcast.
Yes.
Outstanding.
We are flawless.
Any news?
Yep.
I have a couple news items.
Go for it, Patrick.
So, Lower Decks
you took mine.
has a premiere date of August 6th.
Woo!
Also, Patrick Stewart is writing a memoir. So that will be on the horizon. And as we discussed last week, I don't know if we discussed it on air or off air, but the rumor going around that CBS was going to make Kirk bisexual, that was started by a guy, Daniel Richman, on Twitter. It was just that he heard that this might be a possibility, but we got discovered.com picked it up, and they're just,
That's how these rumors start.
Yeah.
They always start on Twitter.
Yeah, they're not a reliable source. So I don't think that is an actual thing that's going to happen, but because we got discovered is not reliable at all as far as a news source goes. So it's completely satire as far as I know. But that's my news.
Okay.
It's okay if it's not true. You can still think it.
You brought the news out about Lower Decks, Patrick, so I'm going to ask Heather this follow-up question because she had a little news as well. Heather, where's Lower Decks going to be premiered on? What station, channel, viewing thing?
So it's going to be premiered on CBS All-Access starting August 6th. So we have about a month to go.
So you guys out there, you have a way to get it. If you're watching it overseas somewhere, like over in England or stuff, I do believe it'll wind up being on Netflix. I think they appear to show on Netflix out there. So you guys will be able to watch it. So that's our news of the week. And we're going to be talking about...
I didn't give my news.
Oh, wait, you have
I got
news?
one more.
It's not huge news, but I was just watching the Twitters go by, and Will Wheaton's show, The Ready Room, had a special episode interview with Patrick Stewart, and it was just really good.
Who are you, Elmer Fudd? The Weddy Womb?
I am so looking forward to that.
Weddy, did I say Weddy Womb?
You said Weddy Womb, yes.
Oh, pardon me. The Ready Room, brought to you by Section 31.
So now he goes into the voiceover mode.
It takes me a couple takes sometimes to say things correctly. I'm only human.
I did have one extra piece of news that I forgot. That the Star Trek Las Vegas convention, obviously we all know that has been moved to December, but they've added some new guests from Star Trek Picard. Michelle Hurd will be there, confirmed. From Discovery, we've got Doug Jones, Amelia Coots, Ronnie Rowe, Patrick Kwok-Choon, Sarah Mitch, Hannah Spear, Hannah Cheeseman, Robin Duwata, Benjamin Tomlinson, and Conrad Coates. So if you don't know who those are, that's Detmer, Bryce, Reese, Nilsson, Serrana, Ariam, Dr. Pollard, Linus, and Admiral Terrell.
Say that again, but real fast. Oh my God, Patrick, you're just like a light stealer today, huh? You've been up real early. No wonder I hear you running around in your quarters.
I didn't steal nobody's news. It's not my fault that no one else was,
You got to get aggressive on the news. If you really, really want to break the news, you got to be forceful.
Right?
Patrick is as busy as a Tribble.
That's for certain. That explains the burning hair again.
Well,
I just feel like burnt hair in here. Oh my God, the Tribbles.
I shaved my head, remember? Hello.
Well, today we're going to be reviewing The Escape Artist as this short, and that's with Harry Mudd is captured by a bounty hunter and taken to a Ferratian ship. But he discovers a surprise. And the other one we're going to be talking about is going to be If Memory Serves. That is the season 2, episode 8 that we have. And it's as Spock and Burnham heads to Talos IV, where the process of healing Spock forces both of them to confront their troubled past, as well as Stamets desperately tries to reconnect with you. And Tyler is like, everybody thinks I'm guilty of this stuff, and I'm not. So we're going to start off with The Escape Artist. That was a fun episode. What did you guys think?
Oh, that was so funny. I love that. There's so many hilarious, we don't have to put the funny into it. There's just so much funny in there,
It's true, actually. It was naturally funny. It was fun watching Harry Mudd just go and spin his wheels like he normally does. It's a little bit on the overacting side of acting, but it is quite entertaining trying to watch the con man just dance.
Well, and then he's having these little flashbacks of wait a minute, I said this before. I said this before. Wait a minute, I said this before. Then you come to realize, why he's having these little flashbacks.
Because he's a clown.
It was pretty fun. And a little trivia, he directed this episode also.
Really?
Yeah,
No
Rainn
kidding.
Wilson directed. Yeah,
Rainn Wilson.
He did a good job.
And how many people had to look up what a cudgel was?
I just turned on the captions to see how it was spelled because I wasn't quite sure.
I just wrote down heirloom. I'm like, it's an heirloom.
Heirloom.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said heirloom the first time.
You said heirloom.
Well, both of them work.
No,
yeah, they do.
A heirloom is something completely different.
No, well, okay, so you could get a heirloom for your heirloom.
Or an heirloom that's a heirloom.
That's true.
No.
Ha!
No.
I just blew your mind.
No.
Well, let's
Okay.
let's talk about Patrick's favorite part of that when they were reading off the stuff he did wrong.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
The penetration of a space whale.
Yes. One count of penetrating a space whale.
Poor space whale.
And Mudd's like, you had to be there.
And why would that be my favorite part, huh?
Ooh.
I've seen some of your exes.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Somebody likes them a little chunky.
Is that a reference to my being LGBT?
No,
Not at all.
It's a space whale. He didn't say space bear, so that was funny.
Well, you know what that means.
Wait, is a whale a thing? Because I know bear's a thing. Is a whale a thing?
If I'm penetrating a space whale, my member has to be large enough to do it.
Oh.
Well, that's just physics.
Okay, we're going to go to the part that where he was getting beat and he was like, not my face.
Oh my God, yes.
Like that's his moneymaker, right?
And his ability to lie on the fly is just something else. Talking about, I'm a part of the secret resistance. What is he, Princess Leia?
Hey, you're going to look good in a cape. You would look good in a cape.
Or the part where he's like, I'm the poorest person in the world. I'm a rich man.
Yes, that was a funny one.
Yeah. And every single female he comes across, he hits on them.
Right.
Like, regardless.
That's true. It doesn't matter what they look like. They don't even have to be female. He hits on them anyway.
I didn't notice him hitting on the male aliens.
Well, he was saying, hey, you've got some, that tusk. I'll polish your tusks. I'll braid your beard.
No, he was polishing his sister's tusks.
Yeah.
It was his sister that he had the affair with.
No, but he was trying to get out of it. He was on his knees and he was saying, I would polish your tusks and braid your beard. Yeah.
I don't recall that.
I don't think that was a flashback. I think that was, they did flash around a bit. I could be mistaken.
I just wrote down that he was begging and groveling.
Yes, he was.
He really did. He didn't want to go back to the Federation. That's for certain.
And it was so funny when he finally brought them to the Federation and he's like, another one. If I was rich, I'd be sipping jippers.
Sipping jippers on a beach.
Yep.
Sipping
Yeah,
jippers
on a beach.
Sipping kippers on a beach.
On the beach. And when the guy finds out he rips his arm off, it's like, well, okay, he really gave his arm for that. And you see?
I wrote down, he's a synth. He's a synth.
And look how many of them didn't have an arm. So,
Yeah, that's funny.
Was ripping the arms off. Wow.
He had to prove that they weren't humans, so ripping their arm off would probably be the best and fastest way to do it.
And they were all talking to themselves.
Yes. No, they're all talking to themselves. Yeah, it was so funny listening to their conversations and everything.
If I were a rich man.
I just loved at the end when you see him on the ship and he's getting served by himself and he's wearing that outfit and you realize, oh, that's the same outfit we saw in the beginning, the one that dropped him off in the first place.
Yep.
He's a cross-dresser.
That was a brilliant scam. For a scammer to come up with that kind of a scam, that was brilliant.
It was, and he was dressed as a trans. I mean, he had the why do men, when they decide to dress up as a woman, to have the biggest boobs ever?
I don't know.
It's proportioned, right? It's just proportioning.
Well, they don't have to do much. There are some guys out there that have bigger boobs than me.
No,
Nathan, you know that.
It's out there.
Oh,
That's it. I'm going to cite you. I'm going to have you look for cracks on the hull.
Crack hole duty.
crack hole duty.
Hey, is that another reference to my LGBT status?
Nope.
I'd like to see how you would react in a room full of Harry Mudds. Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
I'd clean them out first.
You would clean them.
They'd be clean Harrys.
Dude, that'd be the biggest orgy right there. Can you call it an orgy if it's like clones doing other clones of you?
Oh my God.
Or is that just
Yes.
masturbation?
It probably would be the latter.
Okay.
Because the holodeck would be but with actual clones.
Can you make a clone of yourself on the holodeck?
Well, then clones versus androids.
Well, you can make a holo representation of yourself on the holodeck.
What if you
So
have a copy of the
basically-
holodeck program and you're doing the copy of the holodeck
No,
program?
no, it's even better. Rocky, listen to this. You take FaceApp, you put it in the holodeck, so that way you create a hologram version of you, only female style, and then people could fuck themselves, but it's like masturbation.
Okay, See, that's just all kinds of wrong.
I don't need assistance with that. I can do
Did I
that
go
all
too
fine
far?
just by myself.
Did I go too far?
Because see, then you can tell somebody, "Well, go fuck yourself," and they goes, "I'm going to holodeck 47." You know, so
Why is the holodeck busy? Somebody's fucking himself again.
what the hell? Why are we getting off on these tangents? I'm trying to reel things in for
Yes.
Section 31 pulls their support.
Trying to tell my friends, like, oh, yeah, I got a podcast. It's about Star Trek. We're real nerdy. Oh, we sometimes get slightly dirty. Don't worry
Yeah.
about that. You know,
By the
slightly.
way, it's R-rated. Actually, NC-17, but you know.
Okay.
So let's talk about If Memory Serves now.
Well, yeah, the beginning of that was a really nice throwback to the original pilot.
It was such a cool callback right to the beginning of the whole thing. That was so cool.
Yeah.
I just wonder if people new to Trek sees this episode and they're like, what am I looking at? Do they understand?
The pilot episode. This is the pilot episode of the original series.
It's really big history right there. Yeah.
A little trivia, that was the original pilot, but the studio didn't like it. So they made them redo the pilot, which at the time they had brought in William Shatner to play Kirk because the other guy had dropped out.
Yeah.
They didn't like the original pilot ones because they thought number one was too much of a butch, and they did not think that a woman should be in command. And two, they thought Spock's ears made him look like the devil, and they didn't want him on there.
Oh my God.
That satanic Vulcan. My goodness.
Yeah, but it was a nice throwback.
Yeah.
You notice how bushy his eyebrows were there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he didn't manscape at all, man.
Did you notice them saying, is there any way I could keep them from probing my mind? And I'm like, nope, once an alien decides to probe you, you're fucked.
Pretty much, literally and figuratively.
And they probe you too.
Yep.
Anal probe, butt fuck, either way,
But
same thing.
I like the way when he found out where they were going, how they made the throwback to the original episode look like Pike was reliving a memory.
Yeah. And then when
You
they
know.
come back on Pike, he looks so old compared to the younger version.
Yeah, and we saw Spock smile in that one when he was playing with the flowers.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, didn't they, like, in the original, didn't the flowers, like, do something to them?
No, you're thinking of the planet where he got sprayed in the face with the spore seeds and he got happy.
Okay.
The planet on that one, they just made music, which you saw Burnham discovered.
Well, who isn't happy after getting sprayed in the face with, little spores?
Oh, no. I'm definitely going to have the talk with all of you guys after this episode.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh.
We don't have to. She does it herself.
I do it myself. So non-sexual, they're sitting there and they started off and they're like, we are still looking for Spock. And I'm like, so you're telling me you don't have an intergalactic like space service on your cell phone?
You can't find my friend with Spock.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, he turned off his iPhone.
He turned off his iPhone. It had low battery. He had to charge it.
There were a lot of good themes in this one. There was there was the theme of family, obviously, loyalty, vulnerability. There was relationship dynamics. There was betrayal. It was just there was a whole lot of things going on.
There was jealousy. There was little things that were going on. Especially, you see the evil look that what's his face gave from Section 31 when Giorgio was speaking.
Yeah.
He's like, "Why are you talking?" It's like, stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
You know that he was jealous of her.
I love the little stuff in 31. And Giorgio, the way she doesn't like the AI giving orders.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side of Giorgio in this episode for me is she took care of the Talosians real quick in her universe.
But you notice that she knew right off the bat because the AI appeared as different Starfleet officers. And she knew that they weren't Starfleet officers. She knew they were AI.
And also, too, going back to the meeting where she has with Pike, where she's telling Pike what's going on, she tells him, Section 31 needs you to gather more information or more intel on the probe. And I'm like, oh, someone in upper management saw that and was excited to see a butt plug with tentacles. We must have more
Probably.
information. We have to replicate that.
Yeah.
I just love that Tilly's out there looking at it on her screen. She's got Pornhub and she's showing it right there on the bridge. Like, you've got it right here. We got a cephalopod.
How does a probe like not leave any residue when it explodes? Like, what happened? I mean, does alien tech from the future just atomize itself when
Self-cleaning.
something.
Self-cleaning probe. It's very, very important feature.
She said there were no probe parts in the debris, so
It's because it's made out of a gelatin.
They needed to insert it in the right hole, not the wrong hole.
either that or what my thought is since Arium has been infected by the probe, that maybe she was blocking sensors.
That's a good idea.
Because she was also the one who was sending the subspace messages and the one who tricked the system into using Tyler's credentials.
Went to Tyler. That's an old trick.
Yeah.
That was smart.
I found your security code on this illegal message. It was like, it wasn't me, man.
Yeah, and plus they didn't stop to think. That's the one thing that kind of bugged me a little. If you're supposed to be Section 31 and you're supposed to do all this clandestine stuff, why the hell would you put your own security code on a secret message?
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
So.
And in that same section, just like going back just a tad, when Tilly is showing Ash the tentacle butt plug on the screen, she's like, oh, it's a squid. And I'm like, oh, it's a butt plug from Japan. Okay. Have you guys seen that?
What?
Do you know what I'm talking about? Octopuses, squid, Japan.
We don't visit the same websites that you do.
No, I think Patrick might have had an Amazon delivery of one the other day.
Dude, I had way too much fun at one time looking into Japanese culture, and the shit they come up with is just insane. I love it. I love Japan.
Yeah, we're gonna try this. Go back, try to keep you guys on thing.
He's turned red. He's a black man and he's turned red.
Rocky,
Yes.
I need to get with you and see if we have anything that's in the replicator that's been really ramping up everyone's libido here in the ship.
That's a possibility.
So it's a possibility, is right.
Libido might have been cranked up a little bit on the replicator. Yeah.
Who noticed this? Did you notice that Vina was wearing high heels?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I thought that was really bizarre because I don't recall ever seeing women in Star Trek wear high heels. And why would she be wearing high heels on an alien planet?
They got some updated fashion stuff.
Well, especially with all those, the rocks on that planet and the terrain. I would not want to wear heels on that thing.
Hello.
I know.
Well,
right?
she barely walked anywhere. She just went from place to place. And a little bit of trivia, that was the daughter of the woman that originally played the part.
Kidding.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so cool.
That's why she looks so familiar.
It was eerie. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at her like, wow, the makeup they did on her makes her look so much the part. I mean, she's nailing the part. Actually is the daughter.
Well, the actress who did that, Vina, in this episode is Melissa George, but I didn't realize that she was the daughter of the original.
Yeah, please, anybody out there, if I'm wrong, send a correction for next week, but I believe that's her daughter.
Wow,
That's very cool.
So that was pretty awesome. Little background information. Did you know that Talos IV is the only thing in Starfleet that has the death penalty?
You can't go
No
there.
kidding.
Don't go there.
Violation of the space around Talos IV is a death penalty. The only death penalty in Starfleet.
Wow.
So that's why it's such a big thing for them to go there. Because, ever since when Pike first left it, they quarantined the planet.
Wow.
Well, the system, not just the planet, the whole system.
Yeah, the whole system
Yeah.
is against Federation. It's a death penalty if you go.
So that's why Pike was giving the speech and everyone's like, shut up, we're going.
Yeah, that's why, because they all knew the weight of it. I mean, yeah.
They're like, we've done worse.
Correction, Melissa George is not the daughter of the actress who played Vina, because she's Australian and her mother is Pamela and her father was Glenn.
Then the information that I have was wrong. Somebody was, and I stand corrected.
Then it was the makeup.
Then it was the makeup they did, which they did a good job. But let's go into the favorite couple on there. We have, can you imagine somebody kills you and you're on board a ship and you see the person who killed you?
Right.
I would do the same thing that he did. I would freaking go after him just like that.
And that's kind of why Saru just let it fly. I mean,
He knew it had to happen.
Yeah, he's like, this is how you got to take it. This is the quickest, easiest, painless way to do it. I mean, it looks painful, but it's the painless way to do it.
Well, I love what Saru said to Pike afterwards. He's like, there's no policy or procedure in Starfleet regulation that talks about, human with clean on graphite to their bone and a doctor who just came back from the dead.
Yeah, new territory.
Yeah, new
It's
territory.
like a Band-Aid. You're going to take the Band-Aid off slowly or you're going to rip that sucker off as fast as you can.
Yep.
Right, Deadpool.
And sometimes, people just need to get it out of their system.
And the cool thing about this is you notice how lightweight all the furniture was inside the cafeteria. I mean, so easy to throw that stuff around.
Some kind of plastic polymer.
It's space. You don't want to have heavy duty furniture, like heavily weighted furniture. You don't want to have all that mass there. So I understand you'd have like the carbon fiber chairs and all that. Easy to throw around, right?
But what the cool thing was all the bots that did the cleanup afterwards.
That's right. The bots are cool. I was like, I didn't see those the first time. I was like, that's really cool. They got little cleaner bots.
Yeah, now we know what happened when Tilly made that mess in the short.
I was just going to say that. They created the bots after Tilly.
Tilly bots.
They stole the bots from Moya.
Yeah.
You should get that.
DRDs.
You should get that. Yeah, the DRDs. The DRDs came over from Moya.
Yeah, DRDs. Yeah. But I would love to have a Talosian on board because then we would have a holodeck without the holodeck.
Yeah.
One thing I have a question about. Okay, so the Talosians, obviously, mental projection is their primary source of defense. How the hell did they trick the onboard computer on the shuttle into believing that that was a real situation?
It's
No,
not.
they
They
didn't.
trick the computer. They tricked Burnham. And it's funny because you're sitting there. We're talking about people in shuttlecrafts. There's got to be some damn etiquette on piloting a shuttlecraft. You can't just reach over and grab the controls like that. That doesn't make any sense. It's not proper. But you see Spock reach out and grab it, and it's like, well, you realize you're watching the scene from the inside of Burnham's mind, and what probably actually happened was Spock just calmly said, "I'm going to take control because you can't see what's actually happening reality-wise here, and where it's not a black hole or whatever crazy stuff they're projecting at you. We're just going to go right in and land." But what Burnham saw was a black hole and everything going crazy.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And it was so convincing to her that she didn't logically think when they arrived, there was the planet and then all of a sudden it became a black hole. She couldn't rationalize that.
Besides, if the computers did sense it as a black hole, wouldn't there be safeguards in place on the computer where it would automatically turn on to self-driving mode and
You would
then it
think
would
so.
get them away from the danger?
You would think it was, unless you're the Andromeda and you get stuck on the event horizon for thousands of years.
Right.
So that was definitely interesting the way they did that. But you notice that once they got down there and the Talosians were allowing her to see Spock's memories, there was a big hint, and I missed it the first time, when it was going my mind to your mind, and they had Spock trying to mind meld with the Red Angel.
And then Burnham
And then the camera flipped and you saw Burnin because she was in the suit.
Oh, cool.
Well, we don't know if that was her in the suit at the time or was her mother.
Well, Spock knew it was human.
Right. But we don't know whether that human person was Burnham or whether it was her mother.
Yeah, at this point in time, we don't know. Now we know that we've seen the spoilers. We've seen the series, and we do know that for a fact. But you can understand why Spock's mind was so incredibly warped. The only one thing he could always rely on was time, because time is a constant. But now time is fluidic, and he's just losing his head, right?
Yep.
Yeah, jumping around like that is not good.
Just like species 8472.
Yeah.
In fluidic space.
Or in Picard, the Romulan chick that I could see tomorrow. That was like eerie.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you from tomorrow. It was like, whoa.
It was definitely interesting to see how Michael and Spock's relationship had gotten to that point. She said some hateful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she said, I memean, and I wrote a lot about this too in my notes. She believed at the time that she was doing what was the best thing for, her Vulcan family because, she was human. No one on Vulcan wanted her there. So she thought that if she left, that would spare them. But when you're that young, you can't think of the broader implications of your actions. And so she didn't realize that what she was doing was actually hurting Spock more than protecting him.
We had a chance to see Spock's trigger word. And if the original series, it's the same trigger word when somebody calls him a half-breed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. That makes sense.
Yeah, freaky little half-breed.
That was very hurtful.
Yeah, but you look at it and you go, well, logically at the time, that was probably Burnham's most logical choice. I mean, the quickest and easiest solution. It was not graceful.
Well, he says that, he goes, I understand your attempt to sever our emotional ties. It was logical but primitive. But Spock is holding on to that moment and doesn't want to forgive Michael.
Even though he does, but you're right. He is holding on to it.
It's very illogical, and yet it formed his entire being that that moment. So it shows you how a single event in your life can form and, inform who you are and who you become.
Well, yeah, he pushed himself further into logic than he could, just trying to be brought up as a Vulcan, even though he's half human.
Mm-hmm.
That moment in time pushed him further into logic than anything ever had.
Yep.
It's like I hurt, so I'm not going to want to deal with that hurt again. And that hurt came from my human side. So I'm never going to let that human side out. I'm going to do everything I can not to let it out, because that really was hurtful to me. That's why he didn't want to speak about Michael or anything anymore. And so to me, that makes a lot of sense. And this show, I think, dealt on a lot on hurt, because we had to deal with Stamets and you and the hurt that he had, because he just kept pushing you to make everything like it was. And it wasn't. I mean, dying and coming back is not normal.
It's not?
Yeah, nothing about that was normal, and it was disturbing to treat it as such.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think you would handle that, Heather?
Coming back from the dead?
And then dealing with the person relationship and also looking at the person who killed you on the ship.
I completely understand where they're coming from. I understand why Stannis is so happy and excited and giddy who wouldn't be? Like, someone we love dearly passes away. Anyone who is lucky enough to get that person back in their life would go freaking ecstatic over that, so I understand it from Stannis's point of view. I understand it from the Doctor's point of view, and I can never remember his name. I'm sorry.
Hugh
Culber.
Hugh. Okay. Hugh. So I can understand it from his point of view, because it's like, he's been through some shit. He doesn't want to be touched. He doesn't want to go back to the way things were. Like, he's been changed and he's no longer the same person he was. And he needs to go with that change in order to be true to himself. So there's a lot of conflicting emotions and thoughts going on, even though these two people are experiencing the same event.
Well, it's like he says, he has the memory of all these things, but there's no feeling connected to it. So he knows that he was in a relationship with Stamets and that they loved each other, but he doesn't feel that. He can't feel that because it's not part of the new being that he is.
No, he should have just gave him time. Go ahead.
But he still feels pain. He still feels,
I loved the way that this collided in the incident in the cafeteria, because it's a big emotional moment for Hugh. He says, I don't know who I am anymore. And he's trying to, just lash out this anger on the one guy who's actually, who do you think you're talking to, guy? They're actually on common ground. This is the thing where we look at in Star Trek a lot. You've got opposing sides at each other's throats, and then they suddenly realize they're on common ground. And you have something in common with this person that hates you.
Well, it's a lot easier to figure out you're on common ground after beating the shit out of each other.
Right. It's that's a common thing too. You see a lot. You see the knockdown, drag out fight, and then they come out hugging each other at the end. I don't think they were hugging each other yet, but I think they're going to get to the point where they're going to be good buddies.
I think also what happens is that the way Hugh was killed, he probably thought, if I had a chance to defend myself, I wouldn't have been killed, because his death came as a surprise. It was a surprise attack, basically. And so he had a chance to really rectify that situation. He had a chance to give as good as he gets. And the fact that he fought to a standstill, I think, might have been cathartic for you as well. It's like, yeah, I would have been able to defend myself.
I think he was letting him a little bit. I think Tyler kind of understood what was going on, and the honorable thing was to let him take it out, But you're right. You get all that out of it, and you can hold, you feel like you're holding your own. It is cathartic. It is definitely a violent way to do it, but sometimes you just want to throw something across the room. I feel that sometimes.
Well, Wilson Cruz did an amazing job of this.
Yeah, he did.
Intermediate period, in Culber's rebirth, where he's trying to figure all this out, and the complex emotions and the anger and the frustration and the fear and the unknowing. I mean, he really just wove that all together so seamlessly. It was, I thought it was brilliant.
And I like how they brought back one of the episodes from the 60s. It was really cool to see that connection from an episode we saw a long time ago to this episode now. And I'm glad they brought back the alien dudes, because the aliens with the big heads, they looked very...
Talosians?
Yeah, they looked very phallic to me.
Well, they look just like Jeff Bezos, if you watch that episode on South Park.
I remember that episode.
Oh, the Talosians they're so dang iconic too. And I just remember watching the original show and you see their heads pulsating. Even in standard definition, you could see their heads pulsating. And it was such a freaky alien thing. Yeah.
Just like I said, very phallic.
So maybe that's what happens. Jeff Bezos takes Amazon and he it becomes a higher being because of the technology and becomes a Talosian.
That makes so much sense.
Well, the other thing about Talosians, I remember that South Park episode because that he was kind of listening in on everything in that South Park episode. The Talosians are exactly like that. They are reality TV show freaks.
And they're giving people stuff. I mean, just like Amazon, they're giving away stuff, just like they're giving Vivian or whatever. They're giving that woman a blow-up doll, basically a Pike. Remember?
It's a virtual in your head.
It's like, well, Pike's gone. We'll give you a blow-up version you could play with.
And the other side of that, when she visited Pike in his quarters, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not used to you being this scared of me." It's like, yeah, that's the actual Pike in front of you. It's not the guy in your head. The imagination in your head is completely different than the actual real person.
No, they projected it. They gave her a Pike. They made a projected Pike for her to play with. So he's like, you could touch him, you could feel him. They're probably fucking, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, of course. But I mean, when she's actually visiting him in the episode, that's actual Pike that...
It's not in her head, is what I'm saying.
Right.
The thing is, but you saw that he still had feelings for her because you can see the closeness of her, the way she stood next to him. And even the subtle body language, I thought was really cool.
Well, that's why towards the end, when she says, just let us go, he takes her on faith and he trusts her enough to believe what she says. So he says, okay, disengage the disengage the
transporter beams. Yes.
Transporter beams. And
that was wild.
In doing so, it appears that he's given up and let Michael and Spock go over to Section 31, when in fact, the Talosians, in their infinite wisdom, have just projected Spock and Burnham over to the Section 31 ship.
But that was pretty cool.
You've always got to pay attention to what's going on when there's a Talosian involved. You just cannot trust reality.
And Georgia was all over. She was all over that shit. She knew, right? She's like, why did Pike give up so quickly? And Leland was like, shut up. It's like, let me handle this. Thinking he knew what was going on.
Leland was like, oh, I got back. I got redemption. I'm taking care of shit now.
Yeah, he's like,
you fucker.
Yep. And Georgia was just like, she was laughing her ass off. I mean, inside, of course. But yeah, she's always, nothing she doesn't have a reason behind it. She's very calculating.
Yeah, she's a very interesting character.
I can't wait to see her show.
Best line of the show, in my opinion. The very best line was almost towards the end when Pike goes up to Spock and he goes, so do you think the beard is working?
No. That was Mike. That was Michael.
Wasn't that Burnham? That was Burnham. They were talking.
That was?
Yes, that was Michael.
Oh.
The brother-sister fights between Spock and Burnham are just so classic because they're so low-key, but they're vicious at the same time. Because, they've got the Vulcan thing going on, but at the same time, they're just jabbing at each other like a brother and sister does. It's just, I love it.
Yeah.
And it's family. And like Michael says, the bedrock of your logic is based on our relationship,
So just to do a little correction. So it was when Spock and Michael were talking, and that's when Michael came back and she's like, oh my God, you saw the Red Angel. And he's like, yes, twice now. Well, what? Who? Where? When? And Spock's like, I don't know. And she was like, I was asking rhetorically. Can we have a better version of this conversation?
Yes.
And he's like, do you have a better question to ask? And she's like, yeah. Do you think the beard's working?
Yes.
Oh, that's
it was so funny and so like low, just like bang, zing, quick.
She was like, the library is open and you're going to get read.
Yeah, that was a good one too. I remember that one.
That's family right there.
Yeah.
The messed up part is she's in Spock's memory and sees what happened, and then she turns around and goes, I thought you killed them.
It's like, you're watching my memory. So she's kind of doubting it and still is like, yeah. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And then Spock's like, you still don't know me? You see my memory and you still doubt me.
Yeah. Gaslighting.
That was hurtful too.
Well, what I thought about that whole scene was you see him disable those officers. You don't see him kill them. What I thought might have happened is after he left the room, someone else came in and killed them.
Yeah.
That's probably what actually happened. But it's disturbing nonetheless.
Yeah. So Michael's question, isn't completely unreasonable. Although, being that her brother, she should have had a little bit more faith in him. But,
you're even seeing it from his point of view, and it looks like you killed him. I'm just, you can look at it from both sides.
Yeah. Lots of family drama.
Yep. It sure was. But you still get a chance to see that despite the pain, that Spock still loves his sister.
Intensely.
Even though he's not willing to let her in, that it still really loves her.
She's the constant. That love is the constant for Spock, and I love that.
He would not have been so angry with her and held on to that resentment if he did not care about her so much, and vice versa. You can't be that mad at someone who you don't care about.
No, this is true. They say thin line between love and hate.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was definitely there.
It hurts more when it's coming from a person you love.
Yes, it does. Tremendously. And I like the little throwback they did to Burns and Island when he's like, say goodbye, Spock. Goodbye, Spock.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Spock.
That was great.
I also love just the last little scene at the end. Spock, are you smiling? And then Burnham has the Vulcan eyebrow.
I know.
I thought that was really cute. I wonder how many times they shot it like that. And was it something they discovered, or was it planned that way?
So it's like, are you smiling? Captain, I do believe I am. That was pretty cool. All in all, there was a lot of relationships, things going on in this. We have a chance to see a little bit of will they or won't they with Stamets and you with the stuff that's going on, because they were like the ideal couple on board the ship, brushing teeth together, living together, just having the dream.
Yeah.
And that's all it is now. It's just a dream for Culber.
Yeah.
But that's part of life, like events happen, events change people. And once people are changed, sometimes they're not the same people they were, and they can't be in the same relationship they were in.
Well, if you're changed, then obviously you're not the same person that you were. Hello.
And what's the name of the android woman?
Ariam.
Ariam, yes.
Ariam, she still got stuff in her eye.
She's still changed. Yeah.
Yep.
And of course, you look at the teaser for the next episode, and that's the one that's going to hurt me, because that's the one that's going to be like the big Ariam episode, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was behind all of this. Ariam was behind this subspace transmission.
The spore drive suddenly stopped working.
Right?
Did you guys just hear Ariam just beep a little bit over there, and then suddenly stuff stopped working?
Yeah. Ariam was behind all the problems on the ship.
Speaking of her beeping, she makes that little sound every time her head moves. I love all the little sound effects in this episode when they get the little throwbacks to the original series sound effects. They sound almost exactly like them, like when the transporter beams got stuck.
Oh, with the flowers.
All the little bloops and bleeps and the flowers too. I love that the sound guys are bringing in these old school sound effects and, slight modern twist on them, but you can recognize it comes right back to your heart if you grew up watching the original series.
Yeah.
Well, a little off topic, but they did that in Hamilton. If you watch the musical Hamilton,
it sounds like Star Trek?
Well, no, but it throws back to Lin-Manuel Miranda's first musical, In the Heights. There's the phrasing and the melodies are a nod to In the Heights. So off topic, but there you go.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying though.
Well, I loved at the end of Hamilton when they're all disappeared off stage with the transporter. I think that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a little much, especially for 2020.
But it was, I think, the two that we saw. Discovery. I can see why a lot of people enjoyed the second season of Discovery better than the first season, because you have so much to unpack when it comes to everything. You have the breadcrumbs leading towards the season finale. You have the will they or won't they. You have the relationship questions. You have all kinds of things all wrapped in. I think it was really good.
Yeah. Plus season 2 has a better cast and crew. Just saying.
Yeah. And you get a chance to show something which makes Star Trek, which is basically the fact that you have the crew synchronicity. You didn't get that so much. They didn't feel like a crew.
Yeah.
It feels more like the family, even though you have the arguments in the family. It still feels more like a family.
Yeah,
I still think in season 3 we need to focus more on the crew members than, Pike. And I like Burnham. They could keep Burnham. I'm good with Burnham.
Well, Pike won't be in season 3.
He's not?
Well, yeah, he's going to have his own show. He's, of course, the spoiler alert coming to the final episode of this season. You know, Pike goes one way, Burnham goes the other.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because Pike and Spock go off onto the Enterprise, and Burnham stays on Discovery.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's of course it's coming up. We're leading up to it, and it's really exciting.
So that means we'll have a new captain next season.
Or will we?
Well, it's a possibility. It probably may be Saru because Saru was acting captain.
Saru was acting captain, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that they're doing a new captain every season. That's something different.
That's true. We're not used to that. We only get a new captain every new show. We don't get it every new season.
No.
Yeah.
And you notice also Ariam was acting captain once when everybody was off the bridge.
She was sitting in the chair, and I'm like, what is she hacking in that chair?
Yeah.
She was in the big chair.
She was hacking the chair. I could just feel it with her butt. She was hacking the chair.
Oh, no.
It was a butt hack.
Whip back there.
It was a virtual whoopee cushion for Pike.
It was a butt crack hack.
You know, maybe that's how come they couldn't find the probe.
She butt crack hacked
She
it.
butt cracked it.
She hit it.
She keistered it.
Okay, we're descending again really quick. However, before we start getting towards the tail end of the episode, we're going to be bringing in what our new homework assignment is going to be for next week. We have one short left. And does anybody guess what it is?
Your mom?
No.
Oh,
Not her.
Your mom is short.
it's the tardigrade one, right?
That's right.
Oh,
Ephraim and Dot.
Yes.
A cartoon.
Yep,
Awesome.
we're going to see that. So next week's episode is going to be Ephraim and Dot, which is going to be about the tardigrade and the little repair drone named Dot.
Oh, cool.
So that's going to be a really cool little short, which I think they did in order to test the waters for lower decks. So that's going to be really interesting. And everyone should love next week's episode because Patrick and everyone was talking about it, as well as Rocky here, is Project Daedalus. And Project Daedalus was directed by Jonathan Frakes. So we're going to see his direction. And we get a chance to see Cornwall, who's going to make our first appearance there.
The Admiral
Admiral
comes back.
Cornholio.
Yep.
Cornwall, I barely know her.
Oh, gosh.
It's Cornholio. Admiral Cornholio.
Oh, boy.
That's when she's going to talk about, look, I have proof that Spock killed these people. There's proof. So that's what's going to be interesting. So, and as we lead to now with Project Daedalus, that means we only have a couple episodes left before the end of the season, just about, because we got after that is episode 10, 11, 12, and then the two-parter is 13 and 14. So we're almost getting ready to wrap up.
By the time we're done, lower decks will be on. So
That will work perfectly.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, perfect timing. Perfect
Awesome.
timing.
And if not, we'll just put a bonus in there if it doesn't work.
A bone wet.
Heather loves the bonuses.
She likes the extra ball.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. See, now I'm
She gets an extra tribble out of the bonuses.
She's a pinball player, right?
now I'm beginning to head down that hole. So I guess we should be able to start going before. Wait, I didn't you hear the beginning of the podcast? I did already said that it was brought to you by you guys. Why are you in my quarters?
I sent them.
Well, what do you mean?
I told them you had an illegal stash of tribbles.
Wait, say
More genetically altered tribbles.
They heard a complaint about the eggs.
Yeah.
no. They're yeah. He's showing me something on the readout. He wanted to know where the eggs came from, who prepared them, and everything else. So yeah, they might be coming to you, Heather.
I'm going to go in the holodeck. I'm going in the holodeck.
So this was a fun episode. If you guys are out there, whatever you hope you had a safe and productive 4th of July. You'll be hearing the show after the holidays, so we're going to hope that everybody is safe anyway. I need coffee because I'm trailing off over here. But first, before I have coffee, I got to find out from you, Rocky, that they put horny stuff in the replicators.
I'm still looking into it. If the coffee is like standing up on its own, it might be a little stiff.
But on bump.
Yeah, because I don't want to walk around with my captain's log out. So
Don't you mean Captain's toothpick?
Captain's
Oh.
no, that would have been yours on your ship. Okay.
No. Nope. Remember, I'm the one who penetrated the space whale. So hello.
Well, oh my God, Jesus, you guys, there's enough tribbles around. If you find yourself naked, pick up a tribble.
I don't know if a tribble would do it.
Don't
for me,
pick
though.
up a tribble.
It might try and snack on your nethers.
Well, that might feel good. I mean, if it's gumming you.
Oh, see, that's all I need for it to think it's a hot dog. So, yeah, we're going to go before we even get even more crazy. Off my lap. Damn you, get out of my lap. Okay, so yes, no. So we're going to get going here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another bizarre podcast. We've covered everything from fantasies all the way down to weird fetishes.
And we touched on probes.
Yeah, we touched a lot of probes.
With tentacles.
With tentacles.
Cephalopods.
So everyone, make sure you don't just have a great week. Make it so.
Starfleet Underground, beaming into a podcast feed near you. Log on to our website at starfleetunderground.com and send your comments and questions to thecollective@starfleetunderground.com. Follow us on Twitter at StarfleetUnderG and on Facebook and Instagram, we're Starfleet Underground.